I've been money craving, started shoebox saving, made some puzzle placements. I know what this life gon' come with, know that they gon' go and hate it when you
Welcome
make
back,
it. They gon'
Nationwide
switch
Sports.
and say
I'm Matt
they love
Max,
you and
live from
replacement. This
West
shit is
Virginia.
just
Wild
dedication, no
and
success with
wonderful,
no
y'all.
patience. I see it in
Episode
purpose,
103 underway, and we
repurposing,
got a
tryna
good
push
one, a
from my
nice
foundation. Would
detailed
take
one.
my life
Breaking
and
down
not
the
take yours
conference
without no
champion
hesitation.
NFL,
Cause
breaking
all
down the
these
college
rappers
basketball recap
dying
of the
young,
week, the
who
upsets that
gon' come
happened,
and
and
save
the
us? And
close
when
games
it's
that were
all
out
said and
secured.
done, where
And
will I
then from that,
go?
the best games of the week coming from Friday all the way to next Thursday, because there is definitely a lot of them. And then we're going to talk about a little bit of NBA, and then end it off on a good note with the best moments of the 2020 college football season. But before we get started, I got to introduce the co-host, the man, the legend himself, live from Morgantown. Caleb, say what's up.
What's going on, guys? Hope everyone had a great week. We are back, like Mackie said, have a lot to get into. So let's break this week down for them.
We're going to break it down good from Caleb, and we're going to start off right in the only way possible. So let's look at the NFL playoffs because it's still going on and the conference games are set. But let's look back at the divisional round. Out of that divisional round, Caleb, what did you see from each team? Or not
I
each team, but
loved,
the best moments of that round. Let's go with that.
um, I guess on both sides. The Browns seeing that they were able to fight, I kind of loved that for their organization, being able to fight against a really good team for the Chiefs too. Staying in the game. My favorite thing probably was just seeing how dominant Aaron Rodgers has been this year and how dominant he's continued to be. Played against a top 5 defense in the Rams, and they really didn't have an answer for that offense at all, it seemed like. So I think that's my top moment for this week or last week.
My top moment for this week probably was coming from the AFC divisional round when it was the Browns versus Chiefs when Mahomes went down. When Mahomes went down, you would think that your star player, your star quarterback, goes down and you see a comeback coming and your teammates get worried, team's worried and they start frantic a little bit. But to me, that didn't happen. And the Browns fought back. So I just want to give a quick question. Imagine if Baker went down for the Browns, how bad that game would have been, how worse it would have got. To me, it just proved that Pat Mahomes and the Chiefs, without Mahomes, they're still so deadly and talented because all the weapons they got.
Mm-hmm.
Chad Henne, he played well when he got in the game, had a big run to save the game, pretty much solidified. But it's just the fact that if Baker went down, the Browns have a fighting chance. But even though Mahomes went down, the Chiefs still showed their dominance and still played their ball. To me, that's kind of surprising, more of like, okay, Mahomes is that good, but now we know what it looks like without Mahomes, and the Chiefs are still that good.
Yeah, I think a big thing for that too is, you know, this show we're big Josh Allen fans, so the question is he playing this week? And I think, like you said, not only did it show how good this Chiefs team is without him, but again, is he going to play this week? And leading. We'll wait till we get into the talk.
That's right. That's right. And then looking over in the NFC side, division round, you get the Saints versus Buccaneers. Drew Brees, 192 yards, 3 interceptions. That's not a way you want to go out if you're going to retire. I'm not going to lie. I'd come back just for 4 more games and that's my retirement with this season to prove like I'm not like that. Like that's not how I'm going out. But that's what they're all talking about if Drew Brees retires. So hopefully that's not true because of my 2020 sports resolutions. I wanted Drew Brees or Tom Brady to go out as a champion in retirement. And by the way, Tom Brady's he's not retiring this year. So if Drew
No.
Brees is retiring, my 2020 resolution is dead. So that one's gone. And that's kind of upsetting to me. But, and then you look over on the Packers game, that Packers team just pure dominance. But then again, it's the Rams. Yes, they got a good defense, but it's the fact that the offense has to compete as well, and it just shows that Jared Goff is not a quarterback to lead you to another Super Bowl. Yes, he already led the Rams to one Super Bowl, but it's the fact that was based off that run game they had with Todd Gurley. Let's be real. And Chris Anderson, he came in the game for Todd Gurley, and that defense was not as good as it is now, I feel like, if you want to look at it that way. But they still got the pieces from that Super Bowl team's defense. And we know how that Super Bowl won against Tom Brady. But let's just say I think Jared Goff can lead the Rams to another Super Bowl.
That and the weapons he had. I mean, Cooper Kupp had an outstanding year. He was healthy all year. He hasn't been, I don't think he's been healthy all year since. Robert Woods, I think it was.
And Brandon Cooks.
And Brandon Cooks all had breakout years that year too. So, yeah, I think I could agree with that. He's not your, again, Aaron Rodgers or Josh Allen. Josh Allen has receivers who, we've always said that the run game will help them, but I think Josh Allen's more led this team more than he could. Jared Goff leading the Rams.
That's right. But now it's time to break down the NFC Championship game. We got Packers versus Bucks. Aaron Rodgers versus Tom Brady. Now, they played early in the regular season, but we know how that went. Aaron Rodgers did not look so well, and Tom Brady and the Buccaneers blew them out of Tampa Bay. So, would that be a different result in this week's game, Caleb?
I think it would be different just because I think this game's going to be close. I mean, they're going up to Lambeau. I saw that it's supposed to snow up there this weekend, too, for the game. So I think it's going to be a tough game. I mean, he's used to the cold from playing in New England, but he moved the way I see it is he moved down to Tampa for a reason. He wants the warm weather. He feels like maybe he doesn't feel like he can play in the cold year round for 4 months out of the year. So I'm not saying it's going to affect him greatly, but Aaron Rodgers has played in this weather all playoffs. So I think that's going to be a big step for this Packers team. And also a lot of those other boys on that Tampa team haven't played in the cold like this that they're going to be facing. So I think it's going to be a tough game for Tampa. But I'm looking for it to be probably a 7-point win for Tampa.
All right. So there's your prediction. I wasn't going to that one right away, but we will. So you said the Buccaneers are going to win that game. Now looking at the AFC side, we are looking at the Chiefs versus the Bills. And the biggest question mark of this whole entire week out of both games is, will Pat Mahomes play? As of yesterday, he was still in concussion protocol, so he was not going to play. But we're still waiting on that final result, final address. Will he play or not? In my opinion, yes, we are both Josh Allen fans, but we want Pat Mahomes to play, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. I think it gives it more of the realistic game setting.
Yeah. It gives you what you want to look. You want to see Josh Allen versus Pat Mahomes.
Yeah.
You don't want to see Josh Allen versus Chad Henne.
Yeah, and honestly, I mean, the way I look at it, I think Josh Allen would just kind of blow that team apart without Mahomes. I don't think Henne can go back-to-back touchdowns and arm for arm with Josh Allen like Mahomes can.
Yeah, and I just think Josh Allen, with him, that Stephon Diggs move for him was the best move in NFL offseason I've seen happen in a long time, because it literally took that Bills team from 9-7 to an AFC title game. That's literally what it did. Helped them out a lot. They got Cole Beasley still. They still had John Brown. And John Brown is still a deep ball threat. You can still, Stephon Diggs in the game, but when John Brown's in the game too, you got to worry about him as well. And Cole Beasley, he'll get you a touchdown. He's over-reliable. He was over-reliable for Cowboys. That was one of Romo's go-to guys. Even Dak's go-to guy. When Dak's first season, I mean, you look at it that way, he's great. But the only thing they're missing is that run game. And there's also, on that Chiefs defense, there's holes. I mean, yes, they are dominant on offense, but they're not so dominant on defense. They don't give a pass rush. They don't do that. They have one solid secondary guy with Tyrann Mathieu, but other than that, it's just the fact, Josh Allen can literally torch this defense apart. So, Caleb, the question is, you said the Buccaneers, so you're wondering who I'm going to pick, aren't you?
I am.
I'm going with the Packers. I think Aaron Rodgers has had a great year. I think the cold weather is going to be on their side. Yes, Tom Brady is used to the cold in Boston, down in New England, and then he moved down to Tampa Bay for the warm weather. But there's no cold weather like cold weather in Green Bay in mid-January. No other place like that. So I think Aaron Rodgers is like, I'm used to this. I don't care. It ain't going to affect me. We have a run game. We have a solid run game. Y'all's run game is a little iffy. So I'm looking for Aaron Jones to have a solid game and to help this team lead to a Super Bowl appearance.
Well, and, no shade to the Hall of Famer Drew Brees, but Aaron Rodgers is not going to make the mistakes that Drew Brees made last week. So I don't think that defense is going to be as great as it looked last week.
That plus I think the Green Bay's defense has gotten better over the season, and it's better than that Saints defense. And I don't think that Tampa Bay's defense, like you said, is going to force Aaron Rodgers to make those mistakes that Drew Brees made. No, that's not going to happen.
He's a good scrambler, so that's going to be the key for that team.
And Drew Brees, he's usually good at rolling out, finding the guy downfield, going across the middle. But I think ever since that injury he had with a punctured lung, he's not doing that. He's not doing that. He's like, nope, I'm just going to stay in this pocket and take the hit. I'm not rolling out. I'm not doing it.
I don't blame him, though.
But it kind of cost him 3 interceptions, lost in the divisional round, does not make a conference NFC championship appearance, and it got the Buccaneers there. And I think the Green Bay is going to capitalize on all that. And Green Bay, I think they're bitter from their big loss to Tampa in the regular season. I mean, the Saints swept Tampa Bay, swept them, beat them 2-0 in this regular season.
Tampa had a lot of fire coming into the game.
Exactly. Tampa had a lot of fire, and we're not losing 3 to these guys. And look what happened. AFC side, who do you like in this game?
I'm going to give you 2 predictions. They're both the same, but if Mahomes isn't playing, I'm taking the Bills by 21+. If Mahomes is playing, I'm taking the Bills by 7.
Okay.
I just think this Bills team is. I mean, on paper, obviously this Chiefs team is better, have more weapons, run game, receivers, but defensively, this Bills team's good. It can't go against Josh Allen, and Stephon Diggs. I mean, that, like I said earlier, that I feel like that duo has probably become one of the best. I mean, one of the best duos in the league, and my favorite to watch.
Looking at it that way, it is definitely my favorite to watch. Not just because I'm a Josh Allen fan, but I guess you can say Stephon Diggs has been underrated.
I just like the way they click. I mean, in 1 year, have you seen all the pictures about them after post games and interviews and everything?
Yeah.
Like they're like brothers. Like it's just so cool to place that they've clicked their first year. And it shows on the field too.
It does show on the field, and I like that combination that Josh Allen has.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the Bills are going to win as well. But I think if Pat Mahomes plays, it's going to be within 4. If he doesn't play, I'm looking at a 15+ win. That's what I'm looking at. But then again, Andy Reid's a hell of a coach. A hell of a coach. And it's just hard for me to go against Andy Reid. But you look at the situation, McDermott, he's been doing great. And I'm just looking forward. If they don't make it this year in the Super Bowl with the Bills, look out next year what they do in the offseason, picking up running backs, picking up more key pieces for them to make it.
Mark Ingram.
You think they're going to go after him?
Honestly, I wouldn't mind it. I mean, he's a great. I think he'd be a great fit for that locker room. He's a very outspoken person. He's never really been controversial. Never really had anyone talk bad about him. I mean, I saw last night on Instagram he posted something, and pretty much all of his teammates sent him signed jerseys with messages on it. I mean,
Yeah.
so yeah, I think he'd be perfect for that locker room. Get a year or two out of him.
So you're looking at a Tampa Bay and Buffalo Super Bowl.
I am.
And I'm looking at a Green Bay and Buffalo Super Bowl. And out of the two, I like yours better because, one, Tom Brady is the man who used to just beat the hell out of the Bills. He's in New England. So I think that'd be a better storyline kind of game you can go with if you want to make a storyline out of it, saying Tom Brady's going to still show his dominance on the Bills outside of the AFC.
I think either way, whatever team wins, like I told you before the episode, you're having a storyline. You have the old guns versus the new guns. Either way, you have your two old, greatest that I've seen, two of the greatest that I've seen in my lifetime play the game, Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers going up against each other. And then now we have the new era QBs and Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes that are probably gonna be in talks as well. So,
but then if you look at that storyline you're going with, imagine if it was Mahomes versus Brady. That's even a bigger storyline.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we're going to see here the NFL's rigged. We're going to see here. We're going to see it here. If the Chiefs beat the Bills without Mahomes, it's rigged, and they want that storyline. Especially if Tampa Bay beats Aaron Rodgers. That's definitely going to win money. That's definitely going to draw in viewers. I'm calling it now.
I agree.
If I notice in the games that are going to happen, and I see Tampa Bay win first, I'm like, okay, no, that's kind of like not surprising, but it's all right. But if I see the Chiefs are winning the game without Pat Mahomes, yeah, it's rigged. I'm sorry, it's rigged. Yeah, it's definitely rigged because they want to see Mahomes versus Brady. They want to see that old GOAT quarterback, Tom Brady, going against the new GOAT quarterback, Mahomes. I'm telling you, Caleb, if that happens, I swear to you, Caleb, it could happen.
I definitely think it could happen, but I just want to see Josh Allen lead that Bills mafia there.
Oh, 100%. I think
but he's led them far enough that, I mean, it already shows how much of a bright future this Bills team has.
So, with that being said, Caleb, you say the Buccaneers and Bills. I say the Packers and Bills. But we'll find out this Sunday after 9 o'clock what it will be. Moving on down to college basketball, the recap of the week. A lot of big games happened this past week. A lot of upsets happened, and a lot of close games happened, like I stated in the intro. But we're going to start it off in the Big Ten. On Saturday, Ohio State went into Illinois and beat the Fighting Illini by 6, 87-81. Then looking down a little at the same time that game, Michigan, undefeated, rolled up in Minnesota, thinking they're going to win that game. Nope, they lost by 15 to Minnesota. Then you look over in the Big 12. Baylor, number 2 in the country, traveling to Lubbock, who just won a big game against Texas, loses to Baylor by 8 points. Then down to ACC, UVA, they showed that they're still the top dog in the conference by going into Clemson, who's number 12 in the country at the time, and beat them 85-50. It's a 35-point win for UVA right there. And that was a big recap on Saturday of last week. Caleb, out of those games, what was the most surprising to you? What was the most satisfying to you? And what was the biggest shocker to you?
I think the biggest shocker was probably that Baylor game. I mean, not really a shocker because I think they're the better team, but Texas Tech is a really good team, and they blew a pretty decent lead to that Baylor team. That Baylor team came back, fought back, and I think it really shows you how good that Baylor team is this year. I mean, their guard play is phenomenal. I got to catch the end of the second half, and it was fun to watch, very fun to watch. Like we've said earlier, this college basketball, I mean, it's always up and down, but I think we have definitely our two teams that set themselves apart from everyone else in college basketball, being Gonzaga and Baylor.
I agree to that. I agree to that because you said Baylor fall back in that game against Texas Tech, won the game by 8 points to finish it off. But my biggest surprising of that weekend, of that Saturday to be exact, was probably that Virginia and Clemson game. Mainly because we talked about the week 4, how if Clemson's the top dog, how they're good, one loss. Well, UVA came to town and won by 35. To me, that's a big surprise team. For one, the 85 points is surprising because the UVA team's known for their defense, known for having a low-scoring game. So that's a big kicker right there. And then for them to me, have the highest score, P.J. Hall on Clemson's team, only have 8 points. They shut him down. And Sam Hauser, the leading scorer of the whole entire game, had 14 points. So with that being said, I think this ACC is the most inconsistent conference going on right now. And I think that UVA showed that, no, we're still here to stay. We're still here. We still won a natty 2 years ago. We ain't going anywhere.
That is one thing with Tony Bennett's teams. It always has been. They just get better throughout the year as the year goes on. They build up until March. And then once March comes, they'll be really good. Like, I think, 2 years ago, they started off as like a top 5 team, number 1 team or whatever, and then they ended up winning the national championship. But ever since he came to UVA, they just always got better and better and better as the year goes on. So it's nice to see out of UVA, but I agree. ACC is definitely very inconsistent.
And then look over on Monday. Number 9, Kansas traveled down to Baylor for hopefully an upset win they were looking for. But Baylor showed their dominance still and won that game by another 8 points. 77-69 was that final score. And that was a Jared Butler 30-point game for the man. Thoughts on that game?
A good game. I mean, Jared Butler did his thing. And again, Baylor just has set themselves apart from everyone else. Going off 2 impressive wins. This Kansas Jayhawks team played really good against WVU. They played good against Texas and Gonzaga. And honestly, looking at this now that Baylor's back up and running, Gonzaga's back up and running, they need to reschedule that game with them too. It needs to happen. I'm not waiting until March.
There you go. Moving on to Tuesday. The upset that happened was that Purdue went in to Columbus, Ohio State, and beat the Buckeyes 67-65, and a great bounce-back win for Michigan after losing by 15 to Minnesota on Saturday. Came back home to good old Ann Arbor and won that game by 24 against Maryland. And also, number 6, Tennessee traveled down to Gainesville, Florida, and played the Florida Gators, looking for another win. Nope, Florida stopped that one and beat those Tennessee Volunteers.
I was going to say that. Go ahead.
What'd you say?
I was going to say I watched that game. That was my favorite game of that day, if you were going to ask, because that Florida team, they lost their star player, collapsed on the floor when they played Florida State, and to see them still be able to bounce back like this, be a top 10 team, pretty impressive.
Not just beat a top 10 team, they decimated a top 10 team. They beat them by 26 points in that game. To me, out of those 3 games, the best one to watch, I feel like I didn't mention yet, was the Alabama-LSU game. Alabama can score the ball, put up 105 points against LSU, who only allows 70 points a game. The reason why I know about that one more than anything, because 1, I was watching it. 2, I bet the under. So, no, I'm not doing that anymore. Alabama could score the ball at any given time, putting 105 points on an LSU team. It's crazy. Crazy, especially at halftime being up by 28 points. They had 60 points the first half.
They were up, 32.
Yeah, 60-32 at halftime. I'm like, good gosh, There goes my. I already knew it
For
was over
28.
in the first half. My under was not going to hit. That's 92 points right there in the first half. And of course, Alabama puts up 45 and LSU puts up 43 in the second half. So, looking on Wednesday, the Providence Friars go into Creighton looking for a nice upset win. And what happened? They got it. Providence came to Creighton and beat them by 4 points, 74-70. Clemson looking for a bounce back win against UVA. Travels down to Georgia Tech looking for a win. Nope, loses by 18. And Northwestern holds their own. You think they would against Wisconsin in Wisconsin, but loses by 16 points. Any thoughts on those games, Caleb?
I'm surprised by that Creighton loss. I didn't watch any games that day, but when I saw that Creighton lost that game to Providence by 4, I was very shocked by it. I figured this Creighton team would not really run the Big East because you have Villanova in there, but be right there with Villanova and not lose games like this at home, especially.
And then on Thursday, our number 4 Iowa Hawkeyes with one of the best players in college basketball, Luke Garza, looking for a nice home win against the Indiana Hoosiers. But what happened? Well, Luke Garza got his 28 points, but his team did not get the win. Loses by 12 points to Indiana and will hold to only 69 points. That team usually averages 93.
It's a shocking loss, very shocking loss. I don't think they did shoot the ball well. It's kind of hard for Luke Garza to really do everything. I mean, this Indiana team shot the ball 40, almost 50%, and then shot it 47% from 3, and that's hard to beat. When they're barely turning over the ball, they had 8 turnovers. Yeah, and Iowa had 12. I watched a little bit of this game too, and I didn't think Iowa would lose a game like this. I thought maybe their loss would be to a Michigan or an Illinois team, but to an Indiana team like this at home, again, just like Creighton, very shocking to me.
Very shocking as well, but it helped that boy named Tracy Jackson Davis for Indiana to put his name on the map. Having 23 points that game, to know that he is averaging 20.6 points for the season so far, he put his name further out there, and he played very well to get that big upset win over the Iowa Hawkeyes. Now that concludes our recap of the week. Come back next week, we'll do the recap of the same exact things over the games we're about to talk about right now. So looking at tonight on Friday, any big games that stick out to you? I think one will definitely is number 7, Michigan travels to Purdue. This game I like the most mainly because Michigan just proved to me they can't win off. They can't win on the road. They cannot win away from home.
That too, and like you said, coming off that loss, and then that big one is Purdue getting that upset against Ohio State on the road. Purdue's been really good on the road so far. So I think this is going to be a good game. At home. They've been really good at home. And like you said, Michigan, I think they've lost three on the road so far this year, which is. They lost 1 on the road, but they got blown out. That's what it was.
Yeah.
Not good. Honestly, though, I think Michigan pulls this one off. I mean, Purdue forces a lot of turnovers on the year, but they turn the ball over a little too much for me. And Michigan shoots the ball a lot better than Purdue, too. So I could see Purdue holding on, though. Just because.
Actually, been a close game.
Yeah, just because of that shaky performance Michigan has on the road.
Couldn't agree more. Now looking at Saturday's best games, we got a couple good ones. We got number 23, UConn, taking on number 11, Creighton. Then we're looking down a little bit further. We got number 2, Baylor, traveling to Oklahoma State, who's sitting at 9-3. And then we got number 20, Clemson, traveling to Florida State. We got to know, will they lose 3 in a row? Then in the Big Ten, we got number 15 Ohio State taking on number 10 Wisconsin at Wisconsin. And to end the day off great, we got number 19 Missouri traveling to number 6 Tennessee. Out of those games, which can be a favorite one to watch?
My favorite, probably for the day, I'm probably going with that Big East battle, that Creighton-UConn game. Just because Creighton's lost 2 in a row. You know, they lost to Butler on the road and then lost to Providence, like you said, just last week. You know, I've talked about the Big East being one of the best conferences in college basketball this year. Both teams have 4 to 5 guys that can score double digits for them. So I think this game's going to be very high scoring. However, I'm taking Creighton in a close one.
To me, out of those games I mentioned, my favorite one would probably be I would say the biggest game, but you already said that one, so I'm just going away from that so we can talk a little bit more about another game. Will probably be that Clemson and Florida State game, mainly because Clemson lost to a good team of UVA, then traveled to a not-so-good team, Georgia Tech, and lost on the road. And now they're on the road again at Florida State. And Florida State's an underrated team. They're sitting at an 8-2, led by MJ Walker, who's averaging 15 points a game. And the Florida State team lost to Clemson at Clemson by 10, but has had good wins recently by beating NC State, beating UNC, and then beating Louisville at Louisville by 13 points. So I think this Florida State team is underrated, and I think that this is going to be a key win if they win this game.
I agree. I mean, like you said, this Florida State team is very underrated. They were, I want to say, top 15 earlier this year. And then they had that loss at Clemson earlier this year as well, and to unranked UCF. Probably see Florida State pulling this one out, though. I like Scotty Barnes a lot. I think their guard play is just a little bit better. Yeah, this Florida State team's good. I think this is going to get them back in the top 25 with this win.
All right. Moving on to Monday, we got one big game to look at and look forward to. Number 12, Texas Tech traveling into Morgantown. Number 14, WVU hosting the game. Who you liking this one?
I like WVU. It's going to be a challenge. It's going to be a tough game. But is this their first game back off of quarantine?
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is definitely going to be a tough challenge for them. But luckily it's home, so I think that's going to be a game changer for them. It's going to be fun to watch, though, but I'm taking WVU.
I like WVU as well. I think that lockdown Dave's going to shut down Mac McClung, and they ain't going to score that much, and WVU's going to get the win in this one for sure. Looking at Tuesday night, the best game to look forward to in my eyes is that Dayton, number 25 St. Louis game. Dayton has known to be a powerhouse in the Atlantic 10 Conference. St. Louis is showing that they're still a top dog as well. Sitting at 7-1, Dayton's 8-3, and Dayton's on the road at St. Louis. Who you like?
I like Dayton in this one. I mean, we saw what Obi Toppin did there last year, what they've been able to build on down there in Dayton, and I like this team. I think they're going to work their way back into the top 25. I don't think they're going to be as high as they were last year just because Obi Toppin was cap dominant of a player for them. But Jalen Crutcher, I mean, he does his thing. He averages 19 points a game, shoots 53% from the field. This Dayton team's good. They're still good, and they'll be good for a while.
The St. Louis team's good, too, led by Javonte Perkins, 17.8 points a game. He's shooting 80% from the free throw line, 53% from the field, just like Jalen Crutcher. But the only thing I like about this Dayton team more is that they've played better competition to get ready for a game like this, you could say. Yes, St. Louis has played Minnesota, NC State, beating NC State by 11, but losing to Minnesota by 8. But they're coming off a win against UMKC. So that tells you much. Like, they're not really playing anybody when they need to. When Dayton, they're playing their whole entire conference. Davidson, Duquesne, George Washington, Fordham, George Mason. All those games, they're playing better competition than what St. Louis is playing. But St. Louis can score the ball. They average 84 points a game and holding their opponents to 64.5 points a game. And Dayton can't score the ball that much. I mean, they're only averaging 69 points a game and allowing 65 points a game. So I like the St. Louis team at home because I think I've seen that Dayton cannot win on the road because they lost on a road game at Fordham. Fordham's not a good team. But they won in overtime at Davidson, and they won by 13 at George Washington. Other than that, St. Louis at home, they're good. They beat NC State by 11 points at home. Beat Indiana State by 19 points at home. Beat the UMKC team at home by 16 points. So I think they can get a good win in this one. Looking at Wednesday nights, the best game I can think we can talk about that evening is number 11 Creighton taking on Seton Hall. Seton Hall is still a good team, having been 9-6. They literally almost beat Villanova last week, lost by 2. Who you liking this one?
I like Creighton. I mean, whether they come off a win or a loss against UConn, I think they have to bounce back eventually. I don't see this team dropping 3 or 4 in a row. Just the way they can score, and I'm expecting Marcus Zagorowski. I butchered his last name. I always do. I'm expecting him to have some breakout games these next 2 games. So I like Creighton in this one.
I like Creighton as well. I think Creighton going to Seton Hall bounce back and not lose 3 in a row and get a good win in Seton Hall. To end the week off, we look at Thursday, and there's 2 good games to look forward to. You got number 3 Villanova traveling to number 23 UConn and number 21 Oregon taking on number 24 UCLA.
Let's switch it up. I've liked the Pac-12 matchup in this one actually a lot. I think Pac-12 is really kind of, I wouldn't say underrated in basketball. Underrated in basketball. I would say more fell off in football. But Pac-12 basketball, it's exciting to watch for the little bit that I can watch because they come on so late for us. But I like this Oregon team. The way they get up and down the court, the way they shoot the ball, they're a really good team. I'm expecting them to get this top 25 win on the road at UCLA.
I like the same exact game. I like UCLA versus Oregon. I think UCLA has played very well this year, averaging 76 points a game, allowing 6-7 points a game. Yes, they had a close game last night at Cal. Other than that, they had a big win at Arizona, a big win against Washington State and Washington, and then a nice overtime win over Arizona State. You look at the Oregon team, they're coming off a big win at Utah, but also a loss at Colorado. But then they won big against Stanford at home, against Cal at home. So I'm looking for this matchup here because it's exciting to see. Because I think the Pac-12 is like the ACC this year. It's inconsistent.
Mm-hmm.
But they're up and down kind of thing. I'm glad UCLA is back in the top 25.
Yeah, same.
That concludes our best games of the college basketball week. Come back next. We'll give a recap of all those games we mentioned to talk about what we liked about the most of them and what we enjoyed about them all. Now, what we all been waiting for is an update on the NBA. Now, Caleb and I, we've been holding off on talking about it because we had NFL mainly to talk about college football, but we still will mention a little bit of NBA. But now we're talking NBA now more in effect since the seasons are going on and the other seasons are dwindling down. Look at the NBA, Caleb. Obviously, everyone knows James Harden got traded to the Nets. Big move, big trade, new big 3 in the league. But they're shining with them. And I think they shine better when it's just KD and James Harden and not Kyrie.
Yeah, they got torched the other night, to say the least, by Colin Sexton. Put up 40 against them. And it's crazy to see because, real quick, I saw on Instagram that Colin Sexton walked into their locker room, walked past KD, walked past James Harden, walked straight to Kyrie and said, better lace up, it's going to be a long night. And then went out there and dropped 40 on them and led this Cavs team, who's now sitting in the 7th spot, and they were the 2nd worst team in the league last year. Yeah, because the Warriors were the worst. It's crazy to see, and it's fun to see. because I've been a big fan of Collin Sexton. So I love watching him shine in the NBA.
I didn't know he did that.
Yeah, it was pretty ballsy, but yeah, I saw it on Instagram. Kevin Durant, I think, said it after a post-game interview.
Walked in, walked past Katie, walked past Harden, and said to Kyrie Irving, "It's been a long night. You better lace up."
Yeah, I think SportsCenter posted it. There was
Oh,
SportsCenter or Bleacher Report.
oh gosh. But then again, all new big threes lose their first game together. Look at LeBron, Kyrie, and Kevin Love. Look at LeBron, D Wade, and Chris Bosh. And then you look at Steph Curry, KD, and Clay. They lost the first game. They did.
Mm-hmm.
But it's always a bounce back. But I think that this Nets team, if they don't make the finals,
It's gonna be a lot
somebody's
of
got to
talks.
go. Somebody's got to go. And I know it ain't going to be KD. And I know it ain't going to be Harden. It's going to be the guy who was on a leave of absence. And no one knew where he was. In my eyes. Now, looking over in the West Side, of course, we're going to mention the king himself, LeBron James. LeBron can't be stopped. Let's go and put that. He cannot be stopped.
I mean, yes and no. I would say because
the man's 36 years old, and he literally just put up 34 against the reigning MVP.
I know that, but they lost what? And I know it's 2 games ago, their last game, not the last one last night, but game before that. My computer's being so slow.
Against the Warriors.
Yeah, when he missed that 3, him and AD combined for 8 points. I mean, I understand, that's, I don't know, in my eyes, it's one game, but you can't do that, especially in a game like that.
To me, he should be allowed to do it because all the people we have around him.
True, but not when you lose like that. I mean, and I know, you can't just blame the loss on LeBron, but at some point, that's which it is his team. I know he doesn't want to lose, but you got to take the initiative, which is why he took the final shot. But I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but I do agree. I mean, for him being how old he is and still doing the things he's done, it's incredible to see. Definitely fun to see too. But you know me, I don't want to see him win another one.
I know you don't.
But
so, with that being said, Caleb, who is your league MVP right now?
Honestly, I'm probably going with Luka Doncic right now. The man's almost averaging the double or triple double. I mean, he's been top of the NBA since he came in to the league. He's led this Mavs franchise in the playoffs and done incredible things for how young he is. I mean, he's 21 years old, and just what he's done this year. I mean, he's averaging 26 points, 10 rebounds, and 9.5 assists. I don't know. I think it's just time to switch it up. I think we got to go away from, LeBron and Giannis and KD. And I think this is going to be the year because Luka has really, really shined. But then again, we're very early into the year. So
very early in the year, and I see you're going with a newbie on the block kind of thing, but to me, you got to give credit where credit's due. And
no, I understand that.
Coming off a torn Achilles and doing what he's doing, Kevin Durant deserves MVP. I'm going to do exactly what Stephen A. said. He's going to win MVP and comeback player of the year.
I could definitely see that.
The man is averaging 31.3 points a game, 7.5 rebounds, 6 assists per game, shooting 53% from the field and 46.6 from 3-point. Now, exactly what Stephen A. said, if his numbers go down, You ain't looking at James Harden. You looking at Kyrie. Because James Harden boosted his numbers up even more. And Kyrie over here, he gonna want his.
Mm-hmm.
So you ain't gonna look at KD, you ain't gonna look at Harden, you gonna look over at Kyrie like, hey, old Kyrie, why is KD only getting 20 points a game now? That's what they're going to do. But coming off a torn Achilles, doing what he's doing, averaging 31 points a game, that man deserves it.
Yeah, I could definitely see that.
Well, I think Luka will win the MVP. Hell yeah, he's going to win MVP here soon. But
He'll win a couple, I think. But.
Yeah, you got to look at what KD's overcoming to be this good. He's come off a torn Achilles, didn't play for 18 months.
Yeah, I'm just looking at obviously I think the Nets are going to have a good record, but I'm just looking at if the Mavs have a better record in the long run and Luka's averaging a triple-double, I just don't see where they go away from Luka. But then again, KD either way has comeback player of the year locked. I think that's already solidified. Now he's just fighting for. He'll probably win Offensive Player of the Year too, if we're being honest.
KD or Luka?
KD, because no one can really stop him when he's fully healthy. He's one of the best offensive players, if not the best offensive player in the league when he's healthy and playing.
He is, definitely is. I like what the Nets did there to help KD, build around him, new big three for him. But to me, in my opinion, I'm just looking at got a lot of ego in that locker room. Got a lot of ego.
That was my biggest thing with the trade is, that's why when the rumors first came out about it, I was like, I personally don't see it working because there's so much ego in that locker room. But who knows?
Who knows? But Caleb, do you want to add anything to NBA talk?
Other than the fact that I'm surprised the Cavs are where they are, Rockets are shitty so far, and the Suns look really impressive too with that Chris Paul trade. So this NBA, you have your little super teams, I think, all around the league now. So it's going to be fun to watch
because they're young guys who are going to be stars here soon.
Yeah, it's going to be fun to watch.
Well, Caleb, it's time to close the show off with one last good segment. We're going to do our top 5 moments of the college football 2020 season. So, kick it off with number 5.
My number 5 has to be Sarah Fuller making history, being the first woman to play in a college football game for a Power 5 program. She was the women's soccer goalkeeper for Vanderbilt, and then she kicked 2 extra points in their loss to Tennessee, and she was the first woman to score in a Power 5 football game.
My number 5 has to be when BYU scheduled a game against Coastal Carolina within 4 days, traveled into Coastal Carolina, both undefeated, and how Coastal Carolina came out on top in a nice fashion, stop at the 2-yard line to win the game and stay undefeated to have a still remarkable season, the most surprising season ever in college football history.
It's crazy that was your number 5 because my number 4 is group of 5 teams prove they need to expand playoffs and be taken seriously. Coastal Carolina, independent team BYU, Cincinnati, Louisiana, who beat Iowa State and Ames. Liberty came off impressive wins against Virginia Tech and Syracuse. Buffalo, Garrett Patterson had an incredible year. And then Marshall and San Jose State went 7-0. So it's time these teams start getting respected.
So my number 4 is Jared Patterson rushing for 409 yards and 8 TD versus Kansas State. That happened. He was pretty the dominant running back, and that Buffalo team relied on him a lot because when he didn't play so well. That team was very down. But when he played, he scored, he got his yards, and that game against Kansas State was a very incredible moment this past season.
My number 3, Devonta Smith. His numbers that he's had in national championship alone put him on this list, but the year he had put him even farther up. 117 receptions, 1,856 yards, and 23 touchdowns. Get this, Mackie. He was targeted 147 times. He had 117 receptions. That's
Damn.
30 times. 30 times he did not either catch the ball, it was overthrown, underthrown, or the pass was broken up. That's unbelievable. So he had to make my list.
But then you got to give credit where credit's due. Quarterback.
That is true.
You know,
So
target.
Mac Jones and Arthur Smith. I'll put him there.
My number 3 is what your number 4 is. The season of group of 5 teams. You look at it, it proves it has to be a college football expansion. Like you mentioned, Coastal Carolina, BYU, Cincinnati, Louisiana Lafayette, San Jose State, Liberty. Those teams were, let's be real, they never had a shot to make the playoffs. Never did from the get-go. Even if they went undefeated, they didn't have a shot. Especially how the COVID season went and we couldn't play out of conference. To boost your resume up, boost your schedule up, you couldn't do it.
Mhm.
So I think there has to be a definite answer now is why aren't we doing one and why or when will we do one? Because it needs to happen.
My number 2, you already said it, Jared Patterson. The year he's had, but that game alone over Kent State, 36 carries, 409 yards, and 8 touchdowns. And that was 11 days after that Bowling Green win, where he had 301 yards. I'll say this real quick. If the Bills do not get Mark Ingram or sign any running backs, somehow get this kid. Because if he can stay in Buffalo, that offense would be incredible to watch.
Oh, it definitely would, especially he's pretty much kind of like a hometown boy. He's staying in Buffalo kind of thing. So that kind of helps out for him, and in my opinion, in the long run as well. My number 2, Caleb, something you probably have at number 1, but is the Big Ten announced they're playing this year. With this COVID going on, they came out saying we're not playing, we're not having a season, that kind of thing. But they decided to play. They decided to make a schedule around it, play conference only, get the games done, and make a run for a natty for the conference itself. And what happened? The conference played. They had a Big Ten team in a national championship game. They couldn't withhold their dream of having another championship in their conference, but they got to it. But they would never have gotten to one if they didn't play.
Yeah, that was my number 1. I kind of combined that with just being able to play in general through a pandemic. You know, not only start a season, but finish a season through cancellation games, through, again, through a pandemic. It was incredible to watch, fun to watch, and all credit due to, I think the Big Ten was a big part of it, big help. So I had to, obviously put them on there because after the Big Ten came out, then the Pac-12 came out and other conferences started coming out saying that they would play as well. But just to the NCAA and all the players and schools and everyone just being able to play, I had to put it number 1.
My number 1 has to be probably one of the best games this whole season. Better than a national championship game, and they put up a better fight against the national championship winner, Alabama. I'm looking at the SEC title game. That Florida-Alabama game was one to remember because we're known for seeing low scoring, beating Gruden defenses going at it, but not this game. A total of 98 points were scored that game. Alabama 52, Florida 46, and it was led by Najee Harris, who had 5 TDs in that game. But Mac Jones, 418 yards and 5 TDs himself. And to me, that also proved that Kyle Trask can be an NFL quarterback. Let's be real. He had 408 yards and 3 TDs that game as well. And you look at him more, you look at more expanding the playoffs too. It's the fact like this SEC team put up a better fight than any other playoff teams did. Let's be real. Alabama blew Notre Dame out of the water. Alabama blew Ohio State out. Florida State held them within 6 points. To me, that's a good moment. It's a surprising moment. It's probably the best moment because to me, it's like a what if there was an expansion and what if Florida had to play Alabama again. So it's just a big question mark at the end of it, like what if there was an expansion? What if there was a 16-team playoffs and Alabama met a Florida again in the playoff? What would happen? So to me, that's a very great moment to happen. It's a very great conclusion to almost end of the season, but before the bowl game set off. So you can say it was a great conference title game.
Agreed.
Well, all right, Caleb, say your peace, love, and goodbyes because this show is on wrap.
Well, guys, like Maggie said, that is the end of the show. We will see you guys next week. Leave a like, comment, subscribe to us. Let us know what some of your favorite moments from college football were this year. There was a lot in college football, and we will probably do this we can do this for any sport, NFL and NBA, college basketball. Just let you guys know our thoughts and opinions on what our favorite things were. We will see you guys next Friday, and have a good week.
Like Caleb said, like, subscribe, and share our videos. Share the channel, share the Twitter, share the Instagram. Share it all. Put the name out there. Like Caleb also mentioned, go ahead and tell us your top 5 most memorable college football moments of the 2020 season, because everyone's a difference. As you can see, Caleb and I, we had different ones. And some were similar, some were different, but the difference is what makes me wonder, okay, maybe I should put that on there. Oh, maybe I should have kept that off as well, that kind of thing. But overall, it's all opinion-based, and we want to hear what our viewers like as well, because y'all matter to us, because y'all are the reason why we still keep doing this. Talking to y'all pretty much, honestly. But like Caleb said, we'll be back next week, next Friday. Same exact breakdown. We'll break down the conference championship game. We won't go in depth with the Super Bowl because the Super Bowl is a week later on. So the week before the Super Bowl, that's when we'll break down the Super Bowl for you guys. But we'll definitely recap the conference title games and then go over college basketball, give the best games of the week, and give you another short little moment like that one we did at the end, because keep it fun. It's a little bit to be announced, kind of what we're going to do. You'll find out next week. Come back next Friday. You'll see what we're going to talk about. I'm Mackie, and I'm peacing out for the week. Peace.
Lately I ain't been the same, feel like I'm stuck in a maze, and I'm just trying to get out, I'm trying to better these things, but you just all on my thoughts, and I just can't separate.